Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Kirk Hardman, and you already know that. This will actually be the first podcast, and I think it's actually a perfect time to do it, especially since the Reefs unofficial, I guess, 3/4 of the way of the season has ended. We still got 20 some odd games to go, but after tonight's game against Edmonton, which was good in some sorts, but there's obviously still things that need to be done, things that always need to be done. But after the game, I found out that Matthew Nyes is going, like during his break, during everybody's break, Nyes is going actually home to Arizona to have treatment done on his knee. He's been dealing with a knee injury for, well, pretty much most of the season, and he's finally getting treatment done on it because of the break, of course. It's a perfect time to do it. Get some rest. Everybody needs on the Reefs. You can see it in them. They're all tired, and now they're just really happy because of this break that's coming up. But anyways, now everybody. Um, how has this Reefs team been the first, I guess, 3/4 of this season? Um, not as good as people were hoping they would be, but I kind of had a feeling that it would be kind of like a regression kind of year. Like this was going to be that kind of year, and it needed to be. But unfortunately, they now need, I guess, more of the lottery luck on their side to try and get a top 5 pick. And it just could possibly get very confusing from there. Because it could be, if we just get the top 5 pick, then they don't have to send that pick to Boston. They have to send next year's pick to Boston. But oh no, Philadelphia actually owns next year's pick. So there's different scenarios that could happen. Like Toronto would get the pick, which when Boston gets the pick, which would mean Philadelphia gets 2028 possibly, or Toronto chooses no, Philly gets 2027, Boston gets 2028. So you could have a scenario where Toronto doesn't have a first round pick till 2029. Which I'm not sure if I really want that. Because if you look at their prospect pool, it looks really dull. Like there isn't many prospects in their pool. But there is obviously a way you can change that, and that's by trading some of the guys. Now the biggest trade chip for Toronto in Toronto standard is Bobby McMahon. Now that's if you're not going to resign him. Because I'm not sure what his asking price could be, but it could be somewhere to the sounds of $5 million, which I'm not sure if I really want to be signing that to Bobby McMahon, because I still don't think Bobby McMahon is that first liner. I think he's like a good second, third line player. Unfortunately, with this Reefs team, he is a first liner. But I guess that's just how it goes, right? But anyways, good game by the Reefs tonight. Good game by Stowars. I thought he was fantastic tonight. and it was honestly a good effort by Toronto shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl, but that's all most of the time. That's all you need to do. Shut those two guys down, and it's like that. Like I mean, they're not made as a team to be a depth scoring team. They are mostly made for being a McDavid, Draisaitl red team, in which they are. Like, and another thing I also noticed about the Oilers is that every like 2 to 3 years, it seems like, hey, our goaltending is not good. Let's just overhaul it. Like, haven't you noticed with the Oilers? Like, it just seems like, hey, we have two NHL quality goaltenders that are good for us now. We'll be fine with it. And then like 2 years later, it'll be like, oh, these guys suck. We need to trade. We need to somehow get rid of both these guys. And then they trade them to get new guys in, and happen. It's like a cycle for them, and they've never been able to like develop a goaltender. Like they had Jeff Skinner and Calvin Pickard at the beginning of this year. They still have Calvin Pickard, but he's not going to be on the team for much longer. And now they have Connor Ingram and Tristan Jarry as their two goaltenders. Like it's it's a revolving door all the time. The Oilers is just two goaltenders in, two goaltenders out, two goaltenders in, two goaltenders out. I guess it's been like that for the Leafs for a little bit, but not like two goaltenders in, two goaltenders out. Now it seems like we have a stable two goaltenders, but we're possibly willing to trade maybe one of them to get Hill to be a shot. But I can also see Hill to be getting traded. There's a team out there's going to be teams out there that are going to look at Hill to be and say, hey, he'll fix our goaltending issues. We can get them. We can get him for a good price. Like I think I heard Philadelphia is looking to possibly overpay for Dennis Hildeby, which would be, I guess, a good deal. I mean, Philadelphia has had problems with trying to get with their goaltending issues for a very long time, ever since Carter Hart was a part of the Team Canada case. But that's a whole story in and amongst itself that everybody should know by now. But Joseph Wall is not going to get traded. Stoller is not going to get traded. Those two guys aren't going to get traded. It's probably going to be Dennis Hildeby that gets traded, which sucks, but it's probably going to have to happen. What else do we have? We have a lot of their decor could possibly get traded for some pieces, especially Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think he's going to get traded. I think it's almost like the Brandon Carlos trade that happened not too long ago. Well, yeah, it didn't happen not too long ago. The Brandon Carlo trade's going to be like a first round pick for Toronto, which would be good. I think everybody would be happy with that kind of return. Uh, of course, Carl could still get you a return if you want to trade him, which seems like the Leafs want to. The Leafs want to trade a lot of their guys to get some kind of assets, like a retool kind of ordeal. Like they still will have their main guys, but I wonder what they're gonna be in the case of like who do they keep for next year. Like it could be Bobby McMahon. You know that's going to be Matthews. You know that's going to be Nylander. You know it's going to be Tavares, unfortunately, because I think Tavares has worked. He's worked slow. He's worked like his age, which is not a good thing to have, especially with. Well, I mean the deal was team friendly. You are paying him only like $5 million. No, not even five. Like $4.5 million, which is a good deal, but he's starting to look his age. He's starting to look slow. Um, like Bobby McMahon's a good guy, but if he can fetch you a real nice return, which I think he can, you trade him. You trade him. If he's not going to cost you much, you can re-sign him. But I have a feeling he's going to cost you the price of more than Kelly Youngcook. And I think that's another guy that's going to be gone. He's not going to be part of the team next year. Uh, the Leafs, there's a lot of interchangeable parts on this team, and they need to figure it out. They need to figure it out probably fast, and they have these next pretty much months to figure out. Okay, we need to think about who's going to be on this team next year, and not be buyers. Be You could be sellers, or you could be conservative sellers. Like trade off the guys that have 1 year left for assets, and still consider guys that might be on your team next year. But by the ways it sounds like, it's more than likely they're going to be sellers like throughout the entire thing, and not fully consider who's going to be on the team next year, which I don't think they need to be fully like that. But another thing that needs to happen in Toronto, and I think this will happen more in the off season, is you need to have a conversation about what do you do with Morgan Rielly. He's not part of your future. Unfortunately, with the contract that he has and that no movement clause, that pisses a lot of people off. And it wasn't even like it wasn't even a Brad Treliving move, or even like this regime move. It was the previous regime move, because they thought that Morgan Rielly was a top two defenseman in the NHL, and he's not a top two defenseman. He might be a top four, maybe even a top six defenseman in the NHL. He's not a top two. On a lot of teams in the NHL, teams will take him, but not for his contract. Like the price of his deal. It's too much. Now, another thing that will probably happen in the offseason, well, not probably, should happen, is they need to think about, okay, is Craig Berube the right coach for this team? Because it seems like that Mike's new assistant coach, Steve Sullivan, has gotten to this team and has made them more offensive. And I think Craig Berube wants this team to be a defensive, like more defensive club, like more of a stricter defensive style. But Steve Sullivan wants him to be more offensive, so I think there's a clash of styles there, which I think that should never happen in hockey. Like you gotta stick to like one style of play and stick to it all the time, or else you're gonna get beat by great teams. You're gonna beat by playoff teams, not like well, yeah, you're gonna get beat by playoff teams, and they're gonna show you this is how you need to play. And the thing is, like this year in the NHL, well, really, this year in sports has been topsy turvy. Like, I mean, look at this. Look at the Super Bowl this year. It's a rookie. It's a second-year quarterback in Drake May leading New England against a cast-off of the New York Jets leading Seattle Sam Darnold into the Super Bowl. And New York and then the Jets never developed him correctly, and now he's in the Super Bowl. And you also got oh god, uh Mike Vrabel, coach in Tennessee, who had one good year, and then people were casting him off after two horrible years in Tennessee. Now he's with this New England team. His first year in New England, he led the team and they're in the Super Bowl. Seattle, I don't know who their head coach is. I don't watch enough football to really keep an eye on the head coaches. But like, and then you got MLB, who now the usual suspect in the World Series is the Dodgers. But nobody thought at the start of the year, especially the way that the Jays had started their year off, nobody thought that the Jays would have made to the World Series. Made it to Game 7. Almost had the Game 1 in Game 6. Made it to Game 7 against the Dodgers. And then you got NBA. I don't watch enough NBA to really know what that season has gone about. But sports in general this year have just been sports in general for the past season, the past seasons has just been weird. And I'm all for it. It will actually be nice to not see Toronto in the playoffs, like the Leafs in the playoffs, to actually like watch other teams besides Toronto. You know, it'll be really nice to actually see, uh, like Montreal. Montreal made the playoffs last year, yes, but they're not. They're ready for this year for sure. Like they had that time in the playoffs against Washington last year. This year, they're gonna have a better time because they got a year of experience under the belt as a playoff team. So that's a team that I'm probably gonna be watching in the playoffs. Now, the one thing that Montreal needs to do is to get goaltending. Because I don't see Montreal being very good in the playoffs with the goaltending that they have. Like Dobesh has done well, but I mean, other than that, like Samuel Montembeau's not the guy, and neither is Jacob Fowler. Like, I mean, they did give him a shot, but he just didn't really perform. So really, you have to go Dobish, but I do think that they need to, in the off season, or maybe even at trade deadline, look at their situation in net and decide, okay, is this the guy that we're going to go with, or is it going to be a different guy? Like, do we go out there and look for a goaltender? Because there's probably going to be goaltenders out there on the market. Teams are probably going to go, hey, we can trade this goaltender and get something in return. Like, during this, like, time off, like the break, they're gonna be, like management and whatnot. They're allowed to talk to each other during the break. And there's obviously gonna be, like, they can't trade, they can't make moves or anything like that. But there's obviously gonna be discussions had. Which, that's all fine and dandy. But, of course you can't trade. Which is good. Um, let's see. What's another good team that is gonna make no like? What's a sneaky team that's gonna make noise in the playoffs? Besides teams like Colorado and Dallas. Uh, hmm. I have I have to just check that because I don't know what the standings completely are. Except the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference was tight, but now it's starting to separate a little bit. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have a team that could be sneaky good this year when it comes to possible playoffs. Look out for the Islanders. Islanders seem like they could be a team that are built for playoff hockey. Not high scoring, very good goaltending, very good defensively. They are a team that could be good for a deep run in the playoffs. Because you're going to have, and that's the sad thing about this seeding, you're going to have one of Detroit, Montreal, Pittsburgh, and Islanders be out in the first round. Actually, you're going to have, yeah, first round's going to be, as of right now, Detroit versus Montreal. And those are two very good clubs. And you're going to have one of them out in the first round. Like, make it back to 1 versus 8. Make it the 8th seed, like the top 8. And it doesn't matter about the wild card or anything like that. Because right now it would be Tampa versus Boston. Detroit versus no, Tampa versus Boston, Carolina versus Detroit. No, Carolina versus, let's see here. Actually, no, Tampa versus the Islanders. Carolina versus Boston. Detroit versus Pittsburgh. And Montreal versus Buffalo. That's how 1 versus 8, that's how those seedings would work going into the playoffs. It was the top 8. instead of the wild card bullshit. And then the Western Conference, you have Colorado, who was dominant, but because of the loser point, Dallas is now only 5 points back. Actually, no, Dallas is 6 points back. And Minnesota, because of the loser point, is 5 points back of Colorado. Colorado's 36.99, 81 points. They're only 5 points ahead. And here's a sad thing, too. Vegas is 25, 16, and 14. If it were based on wins, they would not even be in the playoffs. But because they've lost in 14 overtimes or shootouts, they lead their division with 64 points. If they were in the Eastern Conference, they wouldn't even be in the playoff spot. Yeah, they would not even be in the playoff spot. Yet they lead their division with 64 points. Like, the loser point just doesn't make sense whatsoever. Oh, and get this too. The LA Kings are 23, 17, 14, and they're a point out of the wild card because of 14 loser points. Excuse me? Like, they're a team that is going to project it to not get many wins. Like, that just doesn't. It doesn't make sense in a sports standpoint to have a team that is way below 500. They're 23 and 31. That's in like the one NFL division. I can't remember what it is. I think it's the NFC South. Every year they have a team that's 9 and 8. Actually, no, they have a team that's not 9 and 8. They have a team that's like 7 and 10. Yeah, 7 and 10, winning the division and making the playoffs. Like, come on. I think I got that right. Just give me a second here as I look this up. Yeah, oh, there we go. NFC South. Carolina Panthers, 8 and 9. They win the division. Tampa Bay, 8 and 9. And the Falcons, 8 and 9. Like, come on. And also, if you look at the point differential, there were no teams that had a positive point differential in that division. Yeah. And Carolina got their ass kicked in the first round. So yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever that you have a team in Vegas that probably would not even make it to the. It wouldn't even be a playoff team in the Eastern Conference yet. They're leading their division. But that's because of the 14 extra points. If they were not a loser point, they would be far out of the playoffs. But they're in the playoff spot. And they're looking to be buyers again, as they usually are. They're ruthless when it comes to performance. Like, they don't care what they give up. They don't care. They just don't care what they give up. Like getting Mitch Marner, which, by the way, that was tampering completely. But we all know that by now. They just don't care. Vegas doesn't care what they do. They just want to be a winning team. Like, I mean, I don't think they they don't have any picks until I believe it's like 2029. And that's the same situation Toronto's going to be in, possibly, if they get a top 5 pick this year. Anyways, I think that's actually just going to be it for tonight. Not sure when episode 2 is coming out, but I do have inquiries to get some guests on this podcast already, because they want to hear from me, and people want to hear from other people. They want to be on the podcast. So, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, message me on Facebook or Instagram. Most of the people that are watching this or even listening to this in the background probably thinking, "Oh, what's your Facebook and Instagram?" Most of it's my friends, and they will help you direct to my Facebook and Instagram. Anyways, this is Kirk signing off, and we'll see you on the next one.